Well, hello. Welcome to this episode of Weekly Word. Father Ed Estock here.
Father Dominic.
Father Rosser.
And we are considering the 26th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And we have another classic. And the deacon was preaching this past weekend. And he was reminding us, he went through all of the parables and the stories and the teachings of Jesus that were calling us to be sensitive to the poor and to our possessions and the relationship we have to possessions. And I would say that this Sunday we are having yet another reminder, and it might be the pinnacle of Jesus' teaching about the poor and our call to be sensitive to the poor. And it is the story of Lazarus and the rich man. I think they sometimes call him Dives, don't they? I think that's rich in the Hebrew language or the Greek language. So he has kind of given a name. But the point is, the important point is that Lazarus is the only person in the parables of Jesus and St. Luke's Gospel who is given a name. So one commentator that I was considering suggested that that is an indication that we have got to make the poor more human and more personal. So that's why St. Luke gave this poor man, he's not just a blind man or a father or a son or older son. That he got a name. So anyway, I don't know. Anybody?
Yeah. So I think that the big thing is recognizing how we are like that rich man. And in the first reading too, it reinforces from the book of Amos this idea of oh yeah, you have these great meals and we're laughing and having a great time and we're singing and dancing, but we lose sight of the whole point. But we get trapped in this idea. Life is about me having a good time, and then we're okay. Go to church to save our soul, but 75% of my life is really dedicated to just having a comfortable, good time, and that's tempting because that seems what life's about. Like, oh, when I'm on vacation, when I have a nice fancy meal, I feel good. But when that becomes what our life goal, then it actually is in deep contrast with our faith, which is to unify ourselves with God and with others. And so, yes, having nice things is good, but we need to be really careful about how that having nice things can actually be contradictory to our sense of total selflessness, of humility, and of a desire to give our lives in service to people, to give our lives to God and the church. And so I think these readings really should call us particularly to how we could look towards those in need and how we can be more attentive.
Mm-hmm. I think our second reading, which comes from Paul's letter to Timothy again this week, kind of gives us a little bit of a remedy to maybe the life lived by the rich man and maybe where we see ourselves in living that life against the poor and against what God desires. Paul says, be righteous and gentle and patient and generous. These things, these gifts and fruits of the Spirit that well up from within us. That's really the cure to all of this that I see, is that it's not just about doing. Yes, we need to do more for the poor. We need to advocate for the poor. We need to give to the poor. But if we don't do it from a place of gentleness and righteousness and patience and generosity, if we don't have the heart for it, then it's just an empty action. And same thing, if we have those feelings, those fruits of the Spirit in our heart, but we aren't doing anything with them, then we're just squandering the gift that God has given us in the spiritual sense then.
Yes, all of this was brought to the fore in our conversation as we were preparing today. when one of my brothers reminded me of my attachment to analgesic efforts. So if I have a headache, if I got an ache, I got a pain, I got a pill for that. See, so I really am dedicated to avoiding any pain or suffering in my life. It's like but then I realized that that is maybe, as Father was saying, Dominic was saying, it could be the goal of my life, right? And maybe yours too, is that the greatest goal of my life today is not to be uncomfortable. So maybe in relationships, so we avoid people. We stop visiting with people and family members. We don't watch the news anymore because we can't be, we don't want to be upset. We don't go socialize. I don't like to go to church. I like to sit in the back. You know what I mean? We don't want to be uncomfortable. And that's what I think the rich man is maybe saying to me, is that because of the luxury and his dedication to having all good things, he maybe dulled his senses to and sensitivity to the poor man. And, maybe my and your dedication to being comfortable might make us forget that so many people are uncomfortable and always, and they can't afford or they don't have access to, or there is no remedy for their suffering and pain. And so I'm sure it's fine for me to take an ibuprofen whenever I sense a headache coming on. But what I don't think is good for me or for the world is if I should dumb down my sensitivity to the fact that life is difficult, it is often painful, and it always ends in death. And so my life, I can't be avoiding those things and expecting to grow in the likeness of Christ, in empathy, in kindness, in sensitivity, and maybe being more generous and helpful to others because I recognize their pain and my brotherhood with them. So, all right.
Sounds good.
See you on Sunday.
Have a
Peace.
good week.